Hey there guys, this is Victor with Victor Vector JKU. Today we're going to go over how to determine if you have an exhaust leak and how to locate it using a technique that I found online. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so a little while ago I noticed that I was having a decrease in my fuel mileage, and yes, I am running with 37 1250s, I have 488 gears, and I have a lot of steel on this with the new builder corners that I installed and made the tube flares off of, along with a heavy skid plate system. But I've been noticing that some of my performance and stuff wasn't there, and just a few things were a little bit off, and I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. So I was kind of thinking, it's probably likely that I have an exhaust leak somewhere, and plus my exhaust system underneath is pretty banged up. So the first muffler, kind of located about in this area right underneath inside the frame rail, I have crushed this several times on rocks and it's pretty well crumpled in, along with the front downpipes from the catalytic converters. Those have been hit a couple of times, one with my skid plate deforming up into it on the passenger side, and then on the driver's side where the loop is, I've had that get contacted before as well. So I'm not sure, it might be those connections where the downpipes to the B pipes are. And so I'm thinking that I probably have a loose connection somewhere in there. Now, there is also the possibility that I have a loose connection where the catalytic converter downpipes connect to the block or the exhaust manifolds. That could also be where my leak is, but we're going to go ahead and show you how I'm determining that. And then one other thing that I've noticed is I have a little bit of a ticking with my engine, sometimes at startup and sometimes throughout when I'm driving. And a lot of times what's common with the JKs is that you'll actually have a sticking rocker or lifter, and that will cause that ticking noise. But it's also very proponent that if you have a ticking coming from the engine bay, could also be an exhaust leak. So you definitely want to dig into that and determine, do you actually have an exhaust leak or is it a rocker knock, before you tear into the head to replace that. And then you might also notice that I removed my fender flares and inner fenders. That's going to help me out get better access into where the catalytic converter and the downpipe connects to the exhaust manifold. So that's the reason why those are off on both sides, and it really helps out with getting access to the side of the engine to be able to see what you're doing in there. So let's go ahead and show you what my process is for identifying if you have an exhaust leak in your Jeep and how to locate it. Alright guys, so earlier today in my search for how to go about identifying where you have an exhaust leak and how to locate it, I found one example that the person was using a shop vac and using the exhaust side of it, hooked that up to his tailpipe and was able to then create positive pressure through the system, which would then force any air out through the leaks, which then you could use a spray bottle with soapy water in it. And that ended up being a pretty cool idea, I thought, because I was initially going to just turn on the vehicle, let it run, and use soapy water. But the thing is, the exhaust gets hot, and then what you could see is that you would actually evaporate any of that water before you actually get the bubbles to be able to be visible. So this way keeps your exhaust cool. Don't have to worry about the vehicle being on, generating heat, or wasting any fuel while you're doing this. So basically what you're going to do is first you need to route the vacuum tube into the exhaust, probably using a towel or rag wrapped around the tube, insert that into the exhaust, and then what I did was I actually used some duct tape just to be able to keep it so it would stay on, because there's enough pressure that ends up pushing the nozzle back out, and I wouldn't be able to do my test this way. So I taped it up nice and tight, made sure that everything was good. That way I don't have to worry about it popping off on me. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn on the vacuum, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to look at all the connection points. I'm going to spray soapy water on every single one of them and see if there's anything that is causing any bubbles, which is causing the leak, or if there's any areas that look like the exhaust pipe is damaged. I'll also spray soapy water there to see if there's any exhaust leaks. Now this will be pretty obvious though, because you have a hole, or the location of the tube is going to probably be significantly discolored from the rest of it. And first look, all of my exhaust looks good minus the areas that are crushed in, which is mainly just the collector under the center of the frame. And there's one other thing that I want to mention is that the collector or the muffler, they do have a weep hole in them. And that is because as a byproduct of the combustion engine, there is water that gets generated. And so that water comes through, and if you didn't have a place for that water to seep out of, being that weep hole, then your muffler would just fill up with water. It would lose its effectivity and potentially could even get clogged up. So you don't want that to happen. That's the reason why that's there. So that's not an exhaust leak. That is actually intentionally designed. So let's go ahead and take a look, see if we can find any leaks in my exhaust system. Alright guys, so you can see with that test that I just finished up performing that I have 3 points of leaks. I have both the passenger and driver where the downpipes and catalytic converters are attached to the exhaust manifold, as well as just behind where the 2-to-1 pipe comes and connects to the collector. So those are the 3 areas that I need to address. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to order up 2 new exhaust manifold gaskets that will replace the passenger and driver downpipes with the catalytic converters where those connect to the exhaust manifold. And then I actually have a new exhaust that I'm going to be throwing in Vector, which I'm going to cover in a follow-up video, and that's where I'm actually going to show you how I replaced all the failed components that are of issue right now that are causing this exhaust leak. Be sure to stick around and check out when that next video comes out. I'm going to be installing a MagnaFlow performance exhaust, and I'll get into more details in that other video as to what all is going into it. I hope that you found today's video informative and something that will be useful for you in the future, if not possibly even today. If you did find this video valuable or interesting, please hit that thumbs up button, give this video a like for me. If you aren't already, please subscribe to the channel, and for those of you that are, thank you very much for subscribing. I really appreciate you guys' support. And help me grow my channel by sharing this video on any other platforms that you guys use, Facebook, Instagram, or even just word of mouth. But that's going to wrap up today's video, guys. I'm excited to get to the next step where I install this new exhaust system and hopefully get back to a place of increasing my fuel economy a little bit and getting to where I'm not having that little ticking noise when I'm starting up my vehicle or driving it down the road. With that, we are Victor Vector JKU. We are taking on this build and the trail, build direction and magnitude. Alright guys, have a good one. We'll catch you next time.